I had this also realization about, like, for example, like why we, experience, you remember like in 2012, I mean, I suppose there were a lot of moments in human people were under pressure, and, they were questioning a lot of things. And I call these moments soul filtration moments, especially like, because we're in the dark ages, or we are ending the cycle, but nevertheless, it doesn't mean that, tomorrow it's all of a sudden is going to, change, like most of the people, to my mind, unwisely hope for. They hope that they hope for a change, for an instant change. Okay, the cycle ends today. Tomorrow we're living in a beautiful paradise. It's not going to happen like this, because it has taken so many thousands of years to degrade to this point, and so definitely it's going to take so many thousands of years to rise up in the sense of our understanding of reality, perception, and the actual physical reality, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that I realize that if we lived somewhere else in a different age, yuga, whatever you call it, we would understand reality, in an absolutely different way. And, those ages are different from this age simply because, there's more clarity there, right? They're called the age of enlightenment, or at least more enlightenment, more awareness than it is now, because those are the times of more clarity. And because, the soul, the that unified field of the collective, our soul of the collective is not divided or fragmented to this degree. But this age is different, is because, it is very difficult here to know what is good and bad. And many people live in this darkness. Evilness, darkness means ignorance, because our moral standards are very man-made, and that's where we lack clarity. And so when we say, okay, we're living in the dark ages, we don't know what is right and wrong, because many people think foolishly that, okay, because I'm acting nicely, hypocritically, I am, a good citizen, so I must go to heaven. I'm a very good citizen, I'm a very good person. But yet they do not understand the essence of evilness. And evilness means darkness, ignorance, lack of clarity, emotional turmoil. And so in this dark ages, we don't even understand. We cannot understand the essence of soul filtration that happens through soul choice. For example, through these kind of moments like pandemics or wartime, like people take sides because they believe that they defend a certain idea, or they become righteous. And this righteousness in its core is the core of evil. So, and they don't understand how it drives them even more so to the lower realms and lower frequencies, because we can't understand that the soul choice is something that a normal human being cannot observe objectively, and that's why we have to have much more clarity and objectivity in order to understand what is the higher frequency and the lower frequency, because whatever we divide into the categories of good and bad not necessarily is of that higher or lower frequency, because it is our man-made reality, and it's from our human limited perspective in this day and age, because it's very important to understand the times we're living in. And so in these times of pressure, like when people are I would say infested by fear, this is the moment where we are pushed to make a soul choice. And these are the moments of soul filtration. Soul filtration means, or soul selection, I don't know, it's by frequency. It's always by frequency, because when we make the soul choice, we somehow, it's like whether the higher frequency wins over within our soul or the lower frequency. You understand? So it is not about which side is right or wrong, because we cannot see it beyond the human perspective. Most of our judgment is affected by someone's narrative, someone's ideas of good and bad, or someone's ideologies. And so that's where we don't really know what's true and what's false. And that's where we use our, kind of a soul by choosing what's right and wrong, isn't it? And so without this inner connection and alignment, we can never know what's true. And for most people in this day and age, their intellectual capacity is either reduced or the intellect cannot even develop, not to say about the sixth sense or intuition. And so even those people who are intuitive by nature as a part of the soul, they develop this ability. Maybe they have other shortcomings. Maybe their emotions are imbalanced. So their intuition is kind of wrapped up in that emotional veil, which also creates a biased understanding of reality.
Well, just because it's spiritual, it doesn't mean it's outside the playground. It's just a higher level of the playground.
It's true. Yes, that's what happens. And when we say that, oh, because I'm acting well, acting is one thing. Action starts with consciousness, and consciousness makes choices. And for example, sometimes you don't need to act. You just accept certain falsehood, and this is already a soul choice because you accepted a certain frequency, a certain reality, and you support it with your mind. So if you want to truly know the essence of each and every being, not only give them power, but put them under pressure, put them in the situation of the collective panic, collective pressure. And in these moments, each and every being shows the strength of their soul, the power of their intellect, and the power of their spiritual being, because they either submit or they're trembling in fear. Fear itself is a low frequency. And so when we submit to this fear, to the collective panic, we already have made a choice. We already have made a choice. So in order to really remain on this higher frequency, we have to remember that no matter what's happening around us, we may choose not to partake. We may choose not to feed this paradigm or dimension of reality or element of reality without conscious attention, with our conscious power or energy. And that's the beginning, because the fight starts in consciousness and ends in consciousness always. And so the soul choice defines the path, the destiny, the spiritual also evolution. And as I see it, in most of the people crack in these moments. They give into fear. They give into whatever is a social panic. They give into social madness. And they slowly give out their power, their conscious power. Even if today they say, no, I'll abstain, I will not partake. Tomorrow they start panicking. Because if this situation of panic and fear is sustained for long enough, those who have issues, impatience, who live in fear in general, they will give in sooner or later.
Well, you find out that a lot of people were abstaining for moral reasons.
Yeah, but very few had enough patience to actually, to actually sort of decide to just wait without judgment and expectation, or to wait without this sort of constant worry of, losing their energy to something that is not even real. And so many people have already made their choices by giving in to a certain frequency. And this frequency is low frequency is the frequency of fear, worry, which drains us enormously. And then they wonder why their immunity gives in, why their, bodies give in, because by draining their energy field through this projection, by feeding the matrix, they eventually drain their energy bodies and their physical bodies. And so when the shield, the spiritual shield isn't strong enough, the body becomes open and susceptible to bacteria and viruses, obviously. The biggest viruses are the viruses of consciousness, the worst viruses. And these are within the collective consciousness. By partaking in any part of this collective consciousness, by taking part, by giving our energy to any part or within this collective consciousness, we lose our energy. And it doesn't matter what we consider it to be, good or bad, whatever the element, we're losing our energy. So instead of building, cultivating ourselves, our spiritual essence, and supporting our true being, which is the subtle being, the light being, we're giving our energy to the illusion. That's what the most, that was the most profound truth left by sages, by previous generations. It is not that the illusion is bad, but it is the illusion. And as long as we choose to live in this illusion and feed this illusion and make soul choices towards this illusion, we cannot announce a new era, or we cannot contribute to this gradual evolution and building up of the new cycle, the new era. That's what I believe. Or not believe, but that's what I observe, because I don't believe or disbelieve in anything. I accept and understand that everything is and can be a part of the collective consciousness, and everyone can look at it, okay, this element is good for me and bad for me, but for those other groups, it is vice versa. It doesn't really matter, because everything in this dimension, in this space, time and space continuum, is about energy. Either you have energy, it means you have time, it means you have life, it means you prolong life, you have longevity. It means you have a chance to exit this dimension into a more subtle, profound, higher frequency dimension and understand the essence of immortality. Or whatever you defend within this dimension, you waste your energy, you waste your life, you waste your time, you feed this illusion. Illusion stays, but your body dies and turns into dust. Dying doesn't mean that it actually dies, but it decomposes into smaller particles, again contributing to the physical matrix of this illusion. And your energetic substance goes to feeding the energy body of this illusion. So instead of feeding your own energy body, you feed the energy body of this illusion, the collective illusion. And that's why, what are we even talking about in terms of spirituality? No one so far in this day and age is capable to sustaining higher frequency for long. They cannot develop their intellectual capacity, let alone spiritual intuition or perception. And even if you develop that, you have to cultivate, you have to realize what your essence is. You have to be open, humble. You have to be healed. You have to dissolve that egotistical narrative, selfish, narcissistic paradigm within, so that you can even grasp at least some aspects of spiritual higher knowledge and understanding. But so far, we are pushed to such a low frequency where we are constantly on the level of fear, worry, restlessness, anxiety, because our basic needs are not satisfied, because we are not taught to cultivate contentment, because we are not taught to cultivate the higher intellect. We are taught to judge, to just accept whatever is given to us mentally and emotionally, being enslaved by this society, by the system, by whatever is given to us from our parents. And so we never question. A person who is trying to evolve and heal starts questioning. That's the first step. That's the step of, at least trying to somehow activate one's intellect. If you don't question anything, if you do not employ your own deeper understanding, your soul being, your subtle being, your spiritual being, whatever you call it, if you do not employ it while observing and living in this reality, then you're dead. You're already dead alive. So most of the people never question. Most of the people just accept whatever they're taught, whatever they're given in their schools, in their limited institutions. They process everything logically in a limited way. And so on a collective level, our intellect and intellectual capacity is lowering and lowering day by day. So how can we even grasp any form of spiritual knowledge? How can we be even interested in it when all we're interested in is filling up our bellies, resolving our emotional dramas, having a pity party, going back and forth from trauma to trauma, sabotaging our lives, trying to, resolve our loneliness, anxiety, restlessness, trying to find people who will understand us, yet we don't understand ourselves, trying to find some kind of an emotional fulfillment, resolving emotional dramas or trying to resolve emotional drama, trying to find partnerships. But how can we even succeed in all of these if we don't even know who we are and what our soul purpose is? We haven't connected within ourselves. We have never questioned our reality. So how can we even understand who we should be with? What is our soul tendency? We have never spent time. Our education never taught us to spend time to observe our tendencies, to understand what we are on an individual level. How can we even know how to connect to other people, other beings, when we don't recognize our own soul frequency, when we don't acknowledge it? How can we understand other people's soul frequencies or their emotional needs or their mental, intellectual needs when they don't know their needs? And so we just keep on bumping randomly into each other, accepting certain people for a while, then getting disappointed, getting discouraged, then getting excited about something else, something new. And so we are living unconsciously in a delusional way. Even animals don't live like this because they have a proper structure, but we don't, because our structure has been dismantled purposefully. There's no any direction for us left anymore, because we are not taught how to be harmoniously with ourselves and with the society, how to build families, how to build societies, communities in such a way where we live without jealousy, envy, comparison, or self-sabotage, but instead contribute to it. So we are not taught. And because we are not taught, our life is just like a hectic expression of our own internal conflict and havoc. And so who is there to blame? No one. There has to be some change from within. And the only change is when everyone focuses within and tries to figure themselves out, try to figure what their tendency and purposes are, what their shortcomings, what their traumas are. And once they realize that, at least then they can understand and value what true connection is, or they can at least recognize it, and then maybe start building up proper families, create less traumatized offspring, and pass somewhat their knowledge by trying to question life themselves. If people don't question life themselves, they can never pass on that ability to their, future generations. If future generations don't question reality, then they live in ignorance, then they live in spiritual delusion, and they literally reach the rock bottom, hit the rock bottom of spiritual ignorance. That's what we've hit already. That's why the age of delusion we're living in, the age of darkness. Darkness means ignorance, means no one wants to be evil. No one of these people thinks they're evil. No one thinks that they're doing anything bad because they're so sweet, they're trying to please everyone, but they're not authentic and true to themselves. And this is the corruption in its core. Their choices are forced by the society and system without them questioning them ever. And because of that, they are the contribution to the darker side of this collective society unknowingly. They are evil. Everyone is evil, knowingly or unknowingly, because they never question. They never try to tap into their essence and cultivate it, because evil is ignorance. All they support with their minds in whatever, in the name of goodness or badness, is still that of the projected reality, that of the illusion. And that's why this activity itself is evil. And that's why our society is not in reality evolving spiritually. Very, very few are capable of or are willing to cultivate themselves. The majority of people still are in this game, in this matrix, feeding one or the other element, trying to, prove themselves, prove to the illusion something, or trying to be something or someone for this illusion, which is delusion in its core, in itself. And this is the root of evilness, the corruption of the human collective society. Righteousness, desire to be something or someone within the illusion, caused this humanity to reach this down cycle, to hit the rock bottom. And so far, we haven't progressed much, unfortunately. And when we face these sort of situations like wars, famine, pandemics, these moments of pressure show our essence. When we are in the moment of pressure, despite our thoughts, despite our actions, our feeling defines us, our perception, our soul choice, our understanding of reality, and our desire to support one side or the other side of this matrix defines our, level of frequency. Our soul frequency defines us as a part of this collective. And the definition is not theoretical. The definition is always by frequency. Whatever you say, whatever you do does not define you, because the human morale means nothing to the actual creation, because creation has its own laws, its own flow. And the only law that is true is the law of frequency. And so one can appear this way or that way. People may judge them, people may gossip, people may put dirt on this person, but they don't know their frequency. And that's why many times there are situations where people judge, and society spits on certain people or puts them down, but they are of a higher frequency because their soul is connected to that higher frequency. So they are beyond the society in a sense. And so that's why I'm saying that our human understanding of right and wrong always fails. And it will continue failing until we really understand higher frequency within ourselves and choose to actually cultivate it. Then we will see the truth rather than the fragments of this truth.